Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be showing you how to make potato, spinach, onion, vegan quiche, and it's going to be very low in fat, barely any fat. The only fat that's going to be in there is from a little bit of vegan cheese and a teeny tiny bit of olive oil just to make the potatoes and onions a little bit caramelized and crispy. So what we're going to do is start off by lighting our stove, and here I have a fairly big wok for the potatoes and onions. So I'm going to get my huge thing of olive oil, well, my boyfriend's mom's huge thing of olive oil, and put about a teaspoon of olive oil in there. And I have everything pre-cut, but I'm using a purple onion today, and I just prefer them more so than regular onions. But throw your onion into the olive oil. And what I like to do with this is I like to caramelize the onion first and then take it out, because when I put the potatoes in, they have to cook longer, and I don't want the onions to get like burnt. And also I feel like the potatoes actually get crispier when the onions are in there. So just a little tip. And stir that around so they all get evenly coated in olive oil. And while that's browning up, what we could do is work on our Aquafaba. And I have about a half a cup of Aquafaba, and what this does with the quiche is that it acts as an egg white in the quiche. And I've made other vegan quiches and they didn't have the Aquafaba in it, and it just kind of tasted like a regular yolk of an egg. It didn't taste like there was any egg whites in it at all. So it kind of tasted like a quiche, but like a deviled egg quiche without the outside of the egg, if you know what I mean. So we're going to get a hand mixer, or you could do it with a stand mixer, but this is what I'm using today. Alright, so that's about what your chickpea or Aquafaba should be looking like now. It's not super stiff peaks, you know, it's just, it looks foamy. Set that aside until we have to fold it in with everything. And in about the time that it took to whip that up, my onions are done now, so just get a little bowl that you can keep it in. And set those aside as well. Put a little bit of oil in your frying pan. That'll also deglaze the pan. And then throw about 6 large potatoes into your frying pan. Give that a little stir, and then put the lid on and just let that sit for a while and stir it every now and then. So now we're going to get started with the filling part. What you're going to want to do is get a half a block of tofu. I actually made another quiche yesterday And this was a recipe that I really, really liked, so I thought I'd post it. And so I still have the half a block from yesterday. And if you're wondering how I mean, I have a big family, but no one eats tofu like I do. But I actually did make another one make one yesterday. But my dog Daisy got into it, and now I can't really enjoy it. I had like a couple pieces. Get your block of tofu, and I strained it out yesterday. So, I mean, but it's accumulated a little bit more juice, but it doesn't really matter at this point because it's just going to be blended up anyway, and you're going to be adding extra water. Plop that in there. And I'd like to do this first. So, in this, I have about 2, maybe 3 teaspoons of this Ener-G egg replacer, and I just eyeball everything, so just add a bit of water so that you could stir that up. And you're going to be adding even more water than this anyway, so you might as well add a little over what you think you should be putting. And stir that up. You will definitely want to make sure, it says it on the directions anyway, but I just thought I'd let you guys know, you definitely want to mix this up before you put it in the rest of the mixture, because this Ener-G egg replacer is very lumpy and it won't mix correctly if you just throw the powder in there. Okay, so set that aside for about 5 minutes or so. And now you can add your spices. So there is an array of spices that you're going to be putting into this, so bear with me. So put about a teaspoon of salt, a whole bunch of freshly ground black pepper, and you'll want to put a ton of onion powder in there. This is kind of getting old, so it's clumpy and being difficult. So about a teaspoon of that. A little over a teaspoon of garlic powder. Do not go crazy with the turmeric because it is very, very yellow, and if you think you're putting a little bit, you're putting a lot. So just barely add any turmeric. I'm going to reduce the heat on the potatoes so they don't burn while I'm talking. And I add just a little paprika so it adds a little bit more of a sweet dimension to the mixture. And just about the same amount of cumin. And I'm not sure if this does anything, but putting just a teeny tiny bit of baking powder will give us a really, really nice top to the quiche. It'll kind of break apart. Maybe that's just the tofu. Okay, so now you're gonna add just a whole bunch of Italian seasoning, about a teaspoon. So I'm not sure when my camera cut out, but I'll figure it out when I edit. But I just added more water and a little bit more salt, so there's going to be about 3/4 teaspoon, or 3/4, no, oh my god. There's going to be 1 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm so sorry, could not think for a second. So you can do this in a food processor or a high-powered blender. The NutriBullet or the Ninja is really good for this. So you want this to be about the thickness of, like, in between, like, cake batter and, like, brownie batter. About the consistency of brownie batter. So this mixture seems about ready. And if you leave out the nutritional yeast like I did, it's going to smell slightly different than what you think it should be, but this really does smell good, but it would be a little bit better with the nutritional yeast. Everything is better with nutritional yeast, but just pretend like it's in there. This is about the consistency that you want. It's about cake consistency. So, right now what you could do is fold in all of the other ingredients. So here's our Aquafaba. And our caramelized onions. And our cheese. And today I'm using the Daya medium cheddar style block that I just cut up into little slices. And just fold everything in. This is actually a little bit too runny than what I'd like it to be, so I'm going to add a little bit more chickpea flour. I'm just going to put a little bit of water in there. And now you'll want to salt your potatoes and put a little bit of cracked pepper. Stir that up a bit, and now you're going to want to add your spinach. So just get like a couple of handfuls of spinach. And here I have a little bit of chopped parsley. I'm not going to use as much as I thought I would, so I have a large pinch. Just throw that on top of your spinach. And put the lid back on there and turn off the heat and just leave it on the burner. Now what you're going to want to do is set your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. So while I was importing a couple of videos because my camera ran out of room, I kind of cleaned up my workspace a little bit. And I lined my pie dish with a piece of parchment paper. So, I'm going to set that aside when we get this. So, all of my potatoes and my spinach has cooked all the way and wilted. Just throw that into your bowl. This might too small, but we'll make it work. This might not fit all the way into my pie dish, but we're gonna see. I fit it into my last one and it like came out all puffy and nice, so we'll see how this goes. You can put this into another dish, but I just think it's traditional to put quiche into a pie dish. I like this quiche better. I like any quiche better without the crust on it for some reason. I feel like the quiche will just soak into the bread and it'll just be like too oily on the bottom. Even, I don't know, maybe I could try to make a low or no fat pie crust recipe, but I haven't really seen any no fat pie crust recipes that don't have like dates in them or some sort of nutty thing. So this barely just fit in here, so hopefully it doesn't puff up too much. But here's the quiche before we put it in, and like I said, I preheated my oven to 325, and it's preheated definitely by now. So pop that in the oven for about 40-45 minutes, depending on your oven. And just watch it. I mean, it's really hard to it's really hard to burn this, but you definitely don't want this to be undercooked, because then it'll definitely taste like an egg yolk. It'll just taste like runny. I don't know, it's weird. But so just make sure that you cook it long enough. So, this had to bake for over an hour because I just added too much water and too much chickpea flour in here. So try not to water down your mixture too much like I did. I kind of overshot that. But it got so thick because of how much water I put in it. So normally it should bake around 45 minutes. But it's nice and done now, and I cooled it for about 5 minutes, but it's still really hot. So what I'm going to do is place this drying rack sort of thing, on top of this. You're going to want to flip this. And this is why we use parchment paper versus like, you know, using like a vegan butter or an olive oil on here. So I'm really impatient, so I'm just going to put it back into the pie dish right away. So, there you have it. I'm gonna cut a piece out and I'm gonna eat because I am starving. That's why I couldn't wait to get this out. So, let me get a plate. So I have this little icing thing It works really well for getting this out because the regular spatula will kind of just tear it up. Oh, still kind of tore it up. It's still really hot, so if you actually let it cool, unlike me, you'll get a lot more even of a slice. So this is what it turned out like. You know, I really should have waited to cut this, but like I said, I am really hungry, so I'm just going to scarf this down. But this recipe is great, and this also has like a lot of cheesy bits that make it a little mushier, but and also, like I said, I added a little bit too much water and too much chickpea flour, so just make sure you do not water yours down too much. But this recipe is awesome, and I really hope you try it. It's great. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Bye guys.